Hello, good morning YouTube. It's another day on planet Earth. When you wake up, you know you're having another day, don't you? Because you could die in bed and then that'd be no good. And that would be the end of it, that would be game over. So if you wake up, you've got another 24 hours of challenges, potentially, provided you don't have an accident. Life. Isn't it interesting? The challenges and the complexities we all face. So you got to bear with me, because at this time of year, more so, as I've said repeatedly, the last few episodes I've put up, it's a very poignant, special time of year. This is the Everest time of year for me. So 10 years ago, I was in Nepal. This time 10 years ago, I was in Nepal. The country of Nepal, I can't say the kingdom of Nepal anymore because the royal family were massacred, but it's a kingdom, no, the country of Nepal. First time I ever went to Nepal in 2000, I think it was the kingdom of Nepal because of the royal family, but not anymore. So 10 years ago today, my first Everest expedition kind of ended before it began, really. I was on my way through to we were one day from reaching the mountain. We just reached, anybody who knows anything about Nepal, Everest, the Everest trek, the villages, the route, we just reached a village called Lobuche or Lobuche, however you pronounce that. I never know. I would never know. I'd struggle if I ever do get round to reading my Everest book for Audible. I'm going to really struggle pronouncing place names. Lobuche, Lobuche, whatever it is. So I just reached Lobuche in my first attempt on Everest, and it was the 18th of April, today, 2014, 10 years ago. We were sat in the tea house. This is all in the book, by the way. I spoke a lot in detail about the events that happened here. So we were sat in a tea house, we were having a rest. The plan was to stay overnight in Lobuche. I'm going to say Lobuche. And then the following day, it was a 3-4 hour trek up to Everest, up to the mountain. So this was the last but one settlement before we reach Everest. Swarming with trekkers. It's not the cleanest place in the world. Sanitation is a bit low on the agenda. But it's beautiful. It's surrounded by the world's highest mountains. It's stunning. You're in a glacier. It's just pristine from a point of view of the atmosphere. It's a special place in the world. It's a special place on the planet. The Khumbu Valley region of Nepal is just insanely beautiful. Insanely beautiful. For anybody who's been and done the trek, or anybody who does go, you're in for a real treat. Excuse me, my nose is itchy as hell. Oh, sorry. Oh, nice Kia in front of me, Kia Niro. So we just reached Lobuche. We're in the tea house having a coffee. I think it was a lemon tea, whatever I was having. And our porter, I'm trying to think of our porter, Paxman he was called. He was sat over on the other side of the room looking a bit nervous and a bit agitated. And he finally came over and sat next to Tim, who was our expedition guide, and said that there'd been a bad avalanche lower down on Everest that morning. Many Sherpa die. And that was our first inkling that something major had happened that was about to change the course of the expedition, and change the course of my life in many ways, you could argue, because that was the start of the demise of 2014's expedition. So he was right, there had been a bad avalanche on the mountain. A big, huge block of ice had decided to release itself from the western shoulder down onto the Khumbu Icefall when... I'm getting quite emotional thinking about this. When 25 Nepali mountain workers were carrying low. See, on Everest, what you do, you get these mountain workers, and Generally they are Nepali, or some sort of castes of Nepal, whether that's Sherpa, Rai, Tibetan. They're there primarily to work on the mountain and to carry loads up and down the mountain. So they take the lion's share of the risk because they're load carrying. So Western climbers such as me would go through the icefall 4 or 5 times on an expedition. These guys maybe go through it 10 times, so they're doubling the risk. So it stands to reason that if something is going to go wrong, there's a chance that these guys are going to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. Which is sadly, oh my God, I've not been recording on the mic. Oh God, I've got 5 minutes in and I haven't recorded a single thing on the microphone. You'll just have to go with whatever that sound came out like. I'm now swapped to the mic. So these 25 mountain workers, they'd reached a ladder. They'd reached a section of ladder in the Khumbu Icefall, and the ladder was broke, so they couldn't cross it. So they stopped to have a rest. They took the packs off, having a cigarette, if you can believe that, at altitude. Just chilling out generally and waiting for a new section of ladder to be brought up from Gorak Shep, which is the last settlement before base camp. And it's ironically, well, not ironically to be honest, it's where all the ladders are kept. All the sections of aluminium ladder that are used to negotiate safe passage through the Khumbu Icefall. So while they were waiting for a new section of ladder to come up, they were having a rest, chilling out. And they were in the worst place imaginable to be in the icefall. They were nestled underneath, high up on the west shoulder of Everest, directly above the icefall. There was a large teetering serac of ice. And a serac is essentially just a large chunk of ice. But when I say large, you're talking of this chunk of ice was the size of like a 3-story house. So it's not just a small piece of ice. So this piece of ice had been teetering on the western side of Everest for a number of years and had caused panic to a number of guides who'd, I think in 2012, one famous guide, Russell Bryce, decided to even pull his expedition because he was that worried about this thing collapsing and the risk that was involved. So it took 2 years before that finally came true and the ice actually did come down, and unfortunately it crashed down onto the 25 mountain workers, 16 of which perished, 3 of which were never found. They never retrieved the bodies. And that was sad. That was very, very sad. Obviously tragically sad that there was such a large loss of life. I think even to this day now, 10 years down the line, I think it's the single largest incident where the most loss of life has occurred on Everest. In one particular incident I'm talking about. I know the year later 19 people were killed, and I think even last year on Everest 18 people succumbed to different effects of the mountain, whether it's exposure, hypothermia, that type of thing. So it was a tragic, colossal event that literally decided my fate on the mountain that year. Sorry, I keep saying the wrong words this morning. What is wrong with me? It ultimately ended that year's attempts on the mountain. That's about as much as I'm going to say about that for now. It's all in the book. Everest, It's Not About the Summit, on Amazon. You can read more about it. I don't want to go into too much detail. Just suffice to say that today I'm going to be remembering the events of 10 years ago. I know exactly where I was, what I was doing. My life as I thought was happening there. I was achieving the dream of a lifetime. I was on cloud 9. I was in a daze. I was 14 years after seeing the mountain for the very first time in April, May 2000. That then cemented the seed for me. When I saw Everest as a trekker in 2000, I just knew that I was meant to come back and have further adventures with this mountain. What I dreamed and hoped was the summit, but that didn't play out. But it was still an adventure nonetheless. It was still an epic adventure, of one of which I'm grateful that I came out of unscathed. Both years, because I returned the following year. the events on Everest, it's hard to walk away from it and not have it define me. They're always going to live with me. They have defined me. You know, I'm never ever going to shake what happened 10 years ago and 9 years ago on the mountain. It's become me. It's indelibly marked into my psyche now. It's, you know, so you've got to forgive me when I do these vlogs from time to time. Everest will come up. Yeah, I will speak about the mountain. More so right now because of the time of year, because it's 10 years since the events that played out in 2014. And then this time next year, I'll probably be in the same position where I'll be talking about 2015 and the events that's a week later. 25th of April 2015 was when the earthquake affected Nepal, or hit Nepal. So I'll go through this whole anniversary this time next year as well. And if I'm still doing the YouTube vlogs, which hopefully I will be, I'll be speaking about it. Because how can I not? It's a massive part of my life. You know, one of the guys of our Everest team, Alex, he was only a young lad at the time. He was 18 in 2014. And he went back in 2015 as well. Was able to get sponsorship both years, which I wasn't able to do. He was able to do it, which I take my hat to him for that. He's pretty much carved a career for himself as an after-dinner / public speaker. Not just on the back of his Everest expeditions, but they are the mainstay of what he does. But yeah, he's done a lot of long distance endurance challenges, like riding his bike down to the Alps. He's a real good, accomplished mountain runner, fell runner. He climbed every single high point in County in Wales a few years back, and like in one continuous push, just using his bike. Really, really inspiring individual, what he's achieved. I've got a lot of time for Alex. He was a really good lad on the expeditions. But all I'm saying here is that, you know, had I wished, I guess there's some element of career that I could have potentially pushed through more than I did. I mean, I know I did do public speaking for a good few years after the events on Everest, but it kind of dwindled for me. I got to the point where I was feeling a bit imposter syndrome-y every time I took to the stage, being paid to be an Everest climber when I didn't climb Everest through no fault of my own, as I keep saying. So yeah, that just it didn't allow me to continue the career as a public speaker. A moment of silent reflection today, guys, for those that lost their lives. The 16 climbers, the 16 mountain workers who perished on the 18th of April 2014. I think it was approximately 6:30 a.m. in the morning, because you climb through the icefall when it's supposed to be most stable before the sun hits it. So these guys are doing everything right. It's not like they were in the icefall during the glaring midday sun when it's loose and unstable and the ice melts because of the heat of the sun. They chose to go at the correct time, early in the morning, when the icefall is stable and secure. But alas, this thing decided to come down when they were there. The worst place possible to be, worst timing, paid the ultimate price. And as I said, it shut down the mountain for 2014. That's the event that stopped all climbing on the mountain that year. That's the event that meant I came home a month premature. That's the event that caused an outcry around the world about the Nepal government giving pitiful compensation to the families of the victims. It's all in the book. It's all in my book, and I'd really love you to read it. I'm just going to keep self-promotion mode at the moment. Please read Everest. It's not about the summit. All right. There we go. That'll do for today's vlog. I'm going to keep them a bit shorter and a bit more concise. If I do this, if I kind of get to a point where I can just do 15-20 minutes a day, I think I can do that and then just produce these, and then I might get to the stage where I can start knocking these videos out every single day again. Sounds like a plan to me. I hope you watch. Onwards and upwards. That was my saying from 2014. One dream, one chance, one life. Onwards and upwards. Live the life you love the life you live.
is coming in, like something's brewing about to begin. So high, you've got your head above clouds. One dream, one chance, one life, you gotta go far. Journey's end will bring you back to the start. Never-ending belief in a magical dream. Personified spirit, courage born in the genes. So deep, it's flowing right from the heart. One dream, one chance, one life, you gotta go far. Journey's end will bring you in at the start. Memories and tragedies, yet your hope still burns on. Husband, father, friend and son, don't be gone for too long. Striding forth, it's destiny's course on the roof of the world. Not gonna be easy, you better believe me. Take it or leave it, Everest dream, already top of the world. Winds in the east, there's a mist coming in. Something's brewing about to begin. So deep, it's flowing right through your veins. One dream, one chance, one life,